Welcome to Pennsylvania in Focus. I'm Christina Lengel, and with me today is our Pennsylvania editor, Kristen Smith. Kristen, the legislature is once again discussing the topic of school choice, and we've seen some pretty strong statements this week on the basis of school performance across the state. Can you tell us a little more about that?
So there's a bill that just passed out of the Senate Education Committee and is very likely one of their top priorities for the budget upcoming. But it is a modified version of educational scholarships. They call it the Pennsylvania Award for Student Success. It was formerly Lifeline. And what this would do is offer educational scholarships to students living in the bottom 15% of school districts. And this would cover tuition to go to a private school. You could also use it for other purposes and like tutoring and special equipment to help you, if you need special accommodations, things like that. The idea behind it is that we need to offer more school choice because we have a problem with academic achievement in so many public schools that it's coming to a point that there seems to be no way out other than to move some children out of these schools and put them into situations that are better suited to their academic needs. In the committee, Senator Judy Ward, who was one of the sponsors of the bill, she said that there are 18 schools in Pennsylvania that have 0% of students who are efficient in math and reading. Other schools are at 4 and 6%. I mean, this is paltry amounts of numbers, and it's really disturbing when you consider all the time and effort that the state has done and spent trying to fix this problem. Now, there is an argument that we just changed our formula and that this can take time for money to cycle through. But there is a growing contingent on both sides of the aisle that believe we can do both. We can spend more money on public schools, but we can also open up school choice so that the students who want to go somewhere else, who can't afford to go somewhere else, can. What's interesting about this bill, too, is that there is a income limit attached to it. You have to be within 250% of the poverty level for a family of 4. That's roughly 104,000, I believe, something to that effect. So this would really this is going to go against the argument that we're giving tuition breaks to rich people who want to send their kids to private schools. So they've made some modifications on this bill. Senator Anthony Williams, he was very passionate about it too, because his district in Philadelphia is home to some of these schools with 0% of academic achievement rates. So he's long been vocal for school choice. He said that in his own family, school choice was important. Even though he and his sister went to public school, his brother went to a private school. They were at least fortunate enough to be able to afford it. But he believes that this ability to choose where they went made a huge impact on their lives and adulthood. So he's really someone who wants to see it for the interest of his own district, but statewide. But the arguments are still there against it. And it's a very strong opposition from Democrats who say, no matter what you call this, we will not support that. This is taking money from public schools. We are not funding private schools. This is just a no.
And what is the structure of how this bill gets paid for when you say it's taking money from public schools? Because I know we have like the EITC, which is privately funded. How does this compare to that?
This would be different in the sense that you're taking state money and you're directly appropriating it to a program that then families who want to take advantage of it would apply for, and the money would be provided directly from the state. The argument here is that $100 million, let's say, we could be just putting that into basic education funding. So a lot of Democrats just don't want to take that money and put it into a program like this. And they don't want to see it abused. And they don't want to see people who can easily afford private education use taxpayer money in order to do so. And their argument, too, is that we already do have tax credit programs for school choice, but those are limited in their reach because they require businesses and individuals to donate the money first. And then the state turns around and takes that money and gives it to students. So if people don't donate, then the amount that they have budgeted for tax credits, they can't spend because the money isn't there with which to draw from. So this is a really radical idea in that sense. It's something that is happening in 34 other states in some way, shape, or form. So Pennsylvania certainly wouldn't be the first. They are not alone in the region, although It is a less popular idea in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic than it is in other parts of the country. So for Pennsylvania to do this, it's also interesting because we were once a leader in the school choice movement. We passed laws for charter schools back in the late 90s, but things just really haven't changed in the last 20 to 25 to 30 years. Not only do lawmakers want to change the way that charter schools are funded because it's based on decades old information, but now this other element of school choice is coming in as a way to better allocate resources so that some kids can go to different schools than where they live. And then maybe the resources that are going into the public schools can better help the children that are there. Those are all the arguments, but it's untested in a lot of ways. We don't know what it could be. And there's a lot of fear that it's going to run afoul of our constitutional obligations to fix the way we fund public schools.
And so charter schools are generally run by CEOs rather than principals, right? There's been some issues, I think, especially with the cyber charter schools in terms of being run more like a business than like a school. But a lot of the other schools, you were talking about who gets motivated to start these schools. I believe Senator Williams mentioned it as well. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. He said it's a lot of public school teachers who are actually involved in these schools. And that's a really fortunate thing because who better understands the system and its failures than they do. And that's something that I think is an element of school choice that may not be talked about as much because you are absolutely right. There's a lot of oversight and accountability issues with our public charter schools. And what's important to note is those are free. Generally, students get into it by a lottery system, particularly in Philadelphia. But the teachers there are coming from a public system and trying to use what they've learned and what they know works and doesn't work for these charter school students. And there is a sentiment, at least among parents who've spoken out about it, that this has been life-changing for their children. But there are problems with test scores. There are problems with transparency as far as money is spent. These aren't the perfect solution to the problem. And so not to say that giving my kids to, low income families to go to private school is the perfect solution either. But the argument is that there needs to be more on the table than just charter schools, which are really only available to students in urban cities, quite frankly, or there's the online versions, which have their own challenges. But this is a way to make school choice more available statewide.
Well, thank you, Kristen. We'll be keeping up with this story and all school choice matters at thecentersquare.com/Pennsylvania. And thanks for coming, and we'll see you soon.